Some of the most important elements of recruiting inexperienced reps. Inexperienced reps have a very predictable kind of experience when getting onboarded. You talk about a lot of the same things in the interviews because you have to teach everybody how to do the job. You have to teach them about the industry. You have to teach them about the company. Experienced reps, not so much. The conversations with experienced reps gravitate more around the common denominators that you guys share in the industry, who you know, what their experience has been like, operations, commissions, installs. And those are very customized kind of conversations with inexperienced reps, especially inbound ones that are submitting resumes or coming to you through a funnel. They have a very predictable experience that is almost similar to a sale, at least a sale with a little longer of a pipeline, like a solar sale, for example. Appointment, set, sit, sign, permit, site audit, install, but it's going to be something different instead. In each one of these stages, when you're talking about screening, interviewing, job offer, training, onboarding, etc., each of these stages are super important in and of themselves. There's a lot of ways to make big mistakes that can cause essentially a holocaust of drop off between each one of these stages. And this is where a lot of the retention and mastery of recruiting actually happens. It's not just in your ability to network. It's not just in your ability to, get resumes and interview well. If you aren't onboarding very well, you're dropping the ball there. Doesn't matter how good of an interviewer you are if you're losing everybody at onboarding because you're not being thorough in onboarding and you're just sending them the paperwork and they don't want to fill it out because they don't know what days they get paid yet. They don't know what the dress code is because you're rushing, to push them along and they're not ready to start a new job yet. Or if they don't get to a sale, let's say you don't have any early stage retention programs, you don't, have a good training platform or mentor program or anything, and your training experience is just a guy in a whiteboard. Well, you're going to lose a lot of people there, right? It have literally your interview skills has nothing to do with them falling off there. And so I want to talk about each one of these stages because this is where the magic happens with inexperienced recruits. It's keeping them through these stages because a big part of inexperienced recruiting is capturing the respect and admiration of high quality candidates. And the place that you're going to do that in is going to be in the interview process and onboarding and how thorough we are. Do they feel like we're prepared? Do we feel like we're organized? Do we feel like a legit company? Think about any company that you respect. Google, Intel, Microsoft, the CIA, whatever. Like all of those places, even McDonald's, will have an onboarding experience where they're going to make sure that you get trained. It's going to be systematic. You're going to sit down with somebody in HR. They're going to review everything with you. They're going to review your pay, the employee handbook, your benefits. And even if you don't have an employee handbook or benefits, you can still go through a checklist with people and make sure that they feel prepared, expectations are clear. And just by doing those things, it'll set you apart from a lot of sales orgs out there that kind of fly by the seat of their pants. A lot of sales orgs out there just have managers doing the hiring and they just send them a link to fill out a piece of paper or the digital form of the paperwork, and they let the rep fill it out at their house at midnight and confuse themselves by reading all this legal jargon and whatnot. So the stuff that you're going to learn in this video is some of the absolute most important elements of mastering inexperienced recruiting. And inexperienced recruiting, by the way, is the only form of recruiting that is predictable. If you wanted to hire 10 people every single Monday and you wanted 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 every single Monday, with inexperienced recruits and inbound applicants and funnels, you can shot call that like Kobe Bryant shooting 3-pointers. Because if you ever needed more resumes, you can just spend more money. There's literally an unlimited number of resumes out there. There's Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, Jobbing, Career Builder, Craigslist, KSL, you name it. And there's all these new companies coming out too with new tech and innovation. So there's always more people than you can handle. But what makes the difference between whether or not you're going to be successful or not is, can you keep these people? Are they going to feel like they won the lottery because they just got the best job, right? Or are you going to disappoint them and they show up to their first day and things are really sloppy and some guy that's training them doesn't even know that that guy's going to show up. He just gets thrown in the back of his car if it's a door knocking position. And of course, somebody's going to quit if they walk into a room and they don't know anybody in there because they just kind of got thrown to the wolves. right? So the stuff that we're going to go through is going to be the way to master inexperienced recruiting. So let's take a look at these stages. The recruit pipeline flow. This is a typical pipeline build out for an inexperienced recruit. There can be more layers to this. There can be, more than one interview. Technically you could split up onboarding into job offer and then in-person onboarding. But for the most part, these are the 5 main buckets that reps are going to go through. And I want to take you through a simulation of what typically happens if you don't have a good pipeline. And this is probably what happens to most of you guys on this call. It's going to seem vaguely familiar and might give you a little bit of PTSD from your own experiences. But let's say, for example, here in the screening stage, you get 100 solid recruits. This is after you've gone through a handful of resumes. You have 100 of them that look like they're very solid. You looked them up on social media, right? They have a high grit factor on their resume. These are all solid people that we want to take seriously. Now, let's say we make a couple mistakes, and let's just say we don't call them the day that they get in, right? Because resumes don't age like wine. If you don't call them on the first day and you call them the next day, or you just call them on Tuesdays or Thursdays, boom, you just lost more than half your candidates because you didn't call them on the same day. In fact, if you can get away with it and you can pull it off, you want to call them within an hour or two of their resume coming in. Because when somebody is submitting a resume to a company, they are at the peak of their guilt for not having a job while they're doing that, right? Usually this happens Monday morning for a lot of people. All their friends are posting about their jobs and stuff on social media, and their jobless friends are sitting there feeling like an idiot because it's Monday and they have nothing to do. And if you can catch them while they're sitting at their desk and submitting their resumes, guess what? They're gonna respond. They're gonna pick up the phone and they're gonna answer. But if you wait 3 days, well, guess what? There's going to be 3 other companies that they applied to that they're looking forward to hearing back from because they chose them. They applied to them. So, of course, they're looking forward to hearing from these companies. They're going to beat you to the punch. They're going to schedule an interview with these guys. And life is also going to happen to them. It's just like setting an appointment with a customer. Their kid's going to get picked on in school. They're going to get a flat tire or whatever. And so every day that you don't respond to a resume, the response rate will drop by about 20 to 25%. So just calling them promptly, or not calling them promptly, rather, can cost you a holocaust of drop off. Another thing that causes a lot of drop off in the screening stage here is going over too much information in the screening interview. If you have somebody screening the candidates, which I always recommend you have somebody do, whoever you have administratively managing the job ad, or maybe it's you want to first screen them so you're not wasting your time with somebody in a 30, 45-minute interview that is going to be obvious at first glance that they're not going to be good at this job, right? For example, if somebody has a physical disability and it's a door-to-door position, well, if you can find that out early, then you can save yourself 45 minutes of torture after finding that out, after a really long interview. So, major thing that happens here, though, is if you are going over too much information in the screening interview, and I see this happen all the time. People are trying to like weed people out, and they want to make sure that before they actually spend a lot of time with them, they just want to make sure they know it's door-to-door straight commission. Well, guess what? If you, within the first 5 minutes of talking to somebody, clumsily assert that, oh yeah, it's really quick. Before you go any further, I just want to be upfront about something, but this is straight commission and door-to-door. Are you okay with that? Boom, you just lost 75% of your candidates like that. Because of course, if somebody had a choice between a job that had a salary and didn't, or if somebody could choose between not having to be outside and a job that was inside, people would more likely choose one that had a salary because they don't have any other information about the job. So asking that question really early isn't helpful for you. In fact, when you ask if it's door, or when you tell somebody it's door to door without any other details about the job, they're usually going to associate it with something negative, right? Most people don't actually have an issue with door-to-door things. Like, no one cares about doing a scavenger hunt. No one cares about trick-or-treating. No one cares about borrowing a cup of sugar. No one cares about handing out political signs. No one cares about handing out $100 bills to people, right? No one cares about going door-to-door for anything unless they think it's tied to a crappy job. And if you have to start off the interview saying, hey, it's this, it's this negative thing. It's not meant for everybody. Is that okay with you? Of course, like you just pigeonholed yourself into sounding like the exact thing that they're scared of, right? So anyway, you do not want to go over that stuff in the screening interview. The screening interview, you just want to be a detective and determine whether or not you want to waste your time with that person. So you just want to listen in to hear, are they, polite? Are they enthusiastic about the position? Are they respectful? Are they going to be easy to talk to? Do they seem moldable? Do they seem like they're at a point in their career where, they're going to be a good fit for what you're having them do, right? So, but anyway, easy way to lose all of your people there. However, just if you call the resumes quickly and you give a really good first impression and you schedule a solid appointment and you make the next guy look good that's doing the interview, or maybe it's even yourself, you're going to leave a really good taste in the mouth. And guess what? You're going to come off like a legit job, because a legit job is going to have somebody from some sort of hiring department call them, verify that it's them on their resume, and make sure everything's up to date. And then they're going to schedule a time for an interview. Right? That's what a normal company would do. So you show them that, and you live up to their expectations for professionalism that they would expect with a normal company, and you're going to get all of your resumes across to the other side. Now, let's talk about between interview and onboarding, right? Let's say, you're doing multiple interviews. Maybe you have one manager doing one interview and another manager doing another interview. Well, if one manager, or maybe the recruiter like myself, does a knockout, lights out, amazing first interview, and I've got them fighting for the job, and I've established that we're protective of our culture, and I'm building a lot of value in what we have behind us, and we show that we're very exclusive and protective of our culture. And then the next manager that talks to him takes a completely different approach, like I see a lot of guys do in sales, and they talk to him like a football coach, and they're just like, yeah, like this job isn't meant for everybody. Sometimes you make a lot of money, sometimes you make no money. I don't know who you are, so you're going to be able to tell in like 2 weeks whether or not you want to do this or you're meant for this. So I don't know how hard of a worker you are, but if you work 1 day a week, you're gonna make 1 day a week worth of money. If you work 5 days a week, you're gonna make 5 days a week worth of money. Well, if I made them fight for the job and I told them how protective we are and how picky we are about who we hire and how protective of our culture we are and how we're slow to hire and slow to fire and blah, 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 and then they talk to somebody like that, guess what? They're going to be scared. They're going to be like, what the hell? I thought Brandon said that you guys are really picky about who you hire. Clearly, you're not even confident that I can do this job. Like, what the heck? Like, I can just work whenever I feel like it. And you're gonna scare them, right? And you can lose a ton of people that way. Or again, like in the screening interview, you can just say it straight commission and door to door in the first 5 minutes and not give them any other information about the job, and they've already going to make their decision that they don't want to do this, right? But if you think about it, most people would be willing to do any door to door job or straight commission job if it was worth their time, right? Like if the Girl Scouts were hiring adults to sell Girl Scout cookies, and you made $100,000 commission for every single box of Girl Scout cookies you sold, well, guess what? Everybody and their mom would want to sell Girl Scout cookies, right? You'd be fighting people off of you, right? You'd have a line out the door that wrapped around the building, right? Because it's going to be, the difficulty of the sale is easy. The industry doesn't seem too off-putting. A lot of people love Girl Scout cookies and I make a lot of money for doing it. Everyone would do it, right? Now that's an extreme example, but there's a line between them, a really crappy situation and Girl Scout cookies that pay $1,000 in commissions. But my point is if you have a good enough situation, company, product, pay, they can tell that the training is on point. There's a lot of high caliber people there and they can feel proud of what they're doing. Anybody would go door to door or do phone sales or do a straight commission position. It just has to do with how difficult and how likely it is they feel making money is actually going to be. So anyway, you just boom, you can lose 66%, 2/3 of your people just by fudging up the interview, especially if you're approaching it like sales. This is the biggest mistake I see people make in interviewing, and it's that they approach it like sales. This is the worst. But you get guys that are like, and I love all of you guys to death. I was the same way for like a decade, where you're just throwing yourself at the candidate, and you're like, and you're telling them why they should be excited about working there, because you're approaching it like you're in sales. And we're going to talk about the psychology and stuff later. But if you're sitting there throwing yourself at them and you're telling them how much money they're going to make and how awesome they are, and you start acting out of character for what somebody should expect out of an interview, and you're like trying to talk them into the job, boom, you just lost virtually almost every single person that you were talking to, because now you're just going to sound like some MLM, right? And there's nothing against MLMs, but MLMs, have a reputation for having a lot of people who aren't professional recruiters, right? You're signing up your friends. So, these aren't professionals and they're just meeting people at Starbucks and tell them how much money they're going to make. But it's so easy to blotch an interview. And when we go over that stuff, pay very close attention to the 2 hats section that you guys are going to see in the other videos here in the interviewing skills. Interviewing is like sales. but it is a very different psychological approach. And if you don't approach it the right way, you're literally talking people out of the job. But take a look at what we're looking at here. We've already gone from 100 resumes down to 100 candidates down to 15 because of how we handled the screening section and how we handled interviewing. Let's go to the next one. You see a little bit of a trend here. Let's say they make it past the interview stage and we like them and we want to offer them a job and they're coming in for onboarding. Well, guess what? If you just don't onboard them in person, like I see this happen all the time. If you just offer them the job and say, "Hey, congratulations, you got the job. For first day's on Monday. We're going to go ahead and send you a packet for you to fill out or a link to the new hire paperwork, and just go ahead and fill that out anytime before Monday. As long as you get that filled out before Monday, you're all set. And then we're going to go over everything on Monday." That probably doesn't sound so bad, right? But that was absolutely horrible. That's like the worst way you could ever approach offering somebody the job. And that's because when you're filling out paperwork by yourself and you're not, and you're a rep and you're not there with somebody to guide you through it, you're going to start to read through that stuff. And guys, not that there's anything wrong in your guys' new hire paperwork, but anything written by an attorney is scary, right? There's usually a non-compete, a non-solicit, a non-recruit. It's telling them how they can get sued a million different ways. How if they create any sort of creative content while they're there, and then they violate trademark secrets, by bringing their own content to another company and teaching people at the next company, the training that they put together at the last one, they can get sued. It's scary. It's not fun. Even a 1099 page, it's anything written by an attorney. If you read the terms and conditions for Facebook, you would probably never go on the site. Right? It probably has stuff in there that says if you play any artist's music on your page without their permission, you can get sued for $2 million. Or if you wear a Coca-Cola t-shirt in your profile picture, that Coca-Cola has the right to sue you if you don't get the permission to recognize their brand online or something weird like that. There's paragraphs and paragraphs and pages and pages and pages. There's weird crap in there, right? But you don't read that stuff, right? Because you're on a time crunch. Or when you're with the finance guy buying a car, let's say you're at a car dealership. When you're sitting with the finance guy at the end and he's reviewing your payment and your term and the warranty and all that stuff, you don't sit there and read everything, right? And why not? Because there's somebody sitting in front of you, and it would be socially awkward if you did. It'd be weird if you sat there for 4 hours and were like, "Actually, you know what? Can I read this really quick?" And you just sat there for 4 hours and read it in front of them. But the reason why you don't is because he reviews it with you and you're there in person and he says, "Okay, here's your term and your payment. Go ahead and sign here." And you sign there. And then here's the stuff about the warranty we just talked about. Go ahead and sign here. And you're like, "Okay." And then you just sign there and you fly through the paperwork in 10 minutes, right? And guess what? The same thing is going to happen if you sit down with the reps in person and you go over everything with them in person. In fact, I even like to have this new hire checklist of all the things that they want to know before I go into the paperwork. I'll have a list of 10 things that are all the things that they want to know: the dress code, meeting times, phone numbers, office address, contact information for the people that they're going to be working with, what to expect in training, days they get paid, how to calculate their paycheck, office rules, all that kind of stuff. That's all the stuff that they want to know. And if you go over that stuff with them before they fill out the paperwork and you just do this all in person, well, guess what? They're not going to read the freaking contract anymore because you just told them everything they wanted to know: the days they get paid, what do they wear, who do they call, what to expect, right? And if you just interview somebody and you offer them the job and you say, "Hey, congratulations, you got the job," and then go ahead and fill out your new paperwork and we'll see you on Monday. Well, guess what? They don't know the answers to any of those things because you don't tell people what the dress code is in the interview. You don't tell them what days they get paid in the interview. You don't tell them what the office address is in the interview. You don't go over any of that crap. You tell them generally what they can expect to make. You size them up. You ask them rhetorical questions, right? They don't learn any of those things. And guess what? Everyone's going to want to know the answer to those things before they start a new job, right? So the reason why people will accept a job offer and then freaking 33% of them don't show up, and sometimes it's way more than sometimes 40% won't show up to the first day, is because after they're done accepting the job offer from you, which they're going to do because it's, they're excited in the heat of the moment in the phone call, but as soon as that phone hangs up, they're going to be thinking, "Wait, hold on a second. I don't even know what I'm getting paid. I'm not ready to start this job." Right? They might want to know, like, what do the training bonuses look like, and what days do I get paid, and how does this work? And my wife has questions, So of course everyone wants to know those things. But if you stop and meet with them once before they start. And you say, hey, congratulations, you got the job. But just so you know, this isn't the finish line yet. This is just a verbal offer, which means we intend on hiring you, but we still need to meet with you once before you start so we can go over everything. So we need to go over the dress code, the office rules, and quarterly bonuses and all that stuff and whatever. So can you come in on Friday? And assuming that all that goes well, after we're done going over through that stuff with you, we can we'll issue a formal offer there at the meeting, and then we can get moving with onboarding. Well, of course they're going to accept that because that's what they want to do. And be like, oh hell yeah, that's all the stuff I want to know. Great, and they're going to skip right into the office on Friday, and then you're going to onboard them in person and go over that stuff. But guess what? When you meet with them in person, you go over all that stuff, you get to bond with them and give them advice. And this is where you're going to form that emotional connection with them if they're an inexperienced recruit, right? If somebody submitted a resume to you online, you're not friends with that person. You just met them. You only talked to them for 30 minutes. So this meeting is really important, and it has the ability for you to bond with them, give them advice, create a emotional relationship with them so that they're thankful that you helped them get the job, and you're starting to turn them into like a personal recruit in a sense where you're talking to them about sports, and you can take your interview facade off and get to know who they are and talk about their family and what it was like when you got started, and give them a little bit of advice on how to lean into their training so they can stand out amongst the other guys that are going to be in the training class with them. There's so much incredible stuff that is going to make them so solid in that meeting. You can introduce them to the person that's supposed to be training them, whoever their mentor is going to be, if you have a mentor program, which you should, right? So that the person that's going to be training them comes in and meets with them and is like, hey, what's up, bro? Welcome to the team. Not to brag or anything, but I'm one of the top guys in the company, and I'm going to be the guy that trains you. So you're in pretty good hands. So I'm Brandon, by the way. Uh, what's your name, and do you play sports? Like, tell me about yourself. What industry do you come from? And you start to bond with them and tell them what to expect in training. And you get their badge photo, and you get their shirt sizes and stuff, and they're going to feel so solid, right? And what breaks my heart is sometimes managers don't want to do this meeting because they'll say, "Do I really have to meet with somebody before they start? If they're not serious enough, like, why would I want them here?" Like, that is the most toxic way to think. If anyone that thinks like that, they are not growing their offices, right? We need to show them why they made the right decision here. This isn't a personal recruit. This isn't a friend of somebody every time. Sometimes it might be a personal recruit and an experienced rep, but if these people don't know anybody there, you need to do the same thing you would do with a personal recruit. You have a relationship. They know that you have their general best interest in mind. You create an emotional connection. You need to stop and smell the flowers and let them know that you're excited for their existence and you're looking forward to having them on the team. And they need to meet somebody there at that meeting, whether it's their mentor and or the manager, so that they have a familiar face that they can run into on the first day of training. But if they don't know anybody in the training room when they walk into it, maybe somebody else did the interview and there was no onboarding experience, and they just show up to a training and there's 20 strangers in there and a bunch of guys are cracking funny jokes and all these clicks and stuff. And, they walk in wearing a freaking suit, and guys are doing push-ups and stuff because they're late. And you're going to walk in and be like, crap, I didn't know what to wear. And, and then it's embarrassing. And you're like, is that all you brought to wear? And they're like, yeah, sorry, I didn't know. And they're like, well, do you have anything else to wear in your car? And they're like, I got some shirts wrinkled in the trunk. And then you come up and you hand them a double XL shirt and you're like, just put this on. We're out of shirts right now, but we'll get some more later. But just put this on today, and you try to figure out who's going to take them out in the field, and you're like, hey, Mike, is it cool if this guy shadows you today? And Mike's like, I don't know, man. It's not a good day. I got a couple appointments I need to run. If you would have told me yesterday, it would have been fine. But I think Brian's got some room in his car. Hey, Brian, is it cool if this guy goes out with you today? Oh, crap, dude. Sorry, man. We're going really far away. My car's full too. So don't you have only two people in your car? Well, it's dirty and stuff, but it's just not a good time, dude. And you start to play hot potato with the guy, and they feel like a piece of crap because nobody wants them. Right? Of course they're going to quit. Who the hell would stay? Of course they're going to quit. Of course. Gee, of course they're going to quit. Man, I don't know why it's shocking to people, right? So, but if you're prepared for them, it's very easy to get people to stick. You meet with them in person. You go over everything in person with them. You're thorough with them. That is what everybody wants. It's going to show that you guys have your shiz together and you guys care about them. All right, next, moving on. After you've signed them, right, between training and sales, this is the most important one. If somebody doesn't get to a sale, all that time was wasted, right? So you want to get as many people to sales as possible. What happens oftentimes is it's a guy in a whiteboard, right? And you make them memorize a pitch on the first day. I even see people set them out to the freaking field on their first day. I still don't understand that. That is the most asinine thing anybody can do. Of if you want somebody to quit, you make them feel as uncomfortable as possible, and like you and you're not the kind of leader that wants to help them feel thoroughly educated on their job before they start anything. If you want somebody to quit, send them to the field their first day. If your goal is to get 70% of your people to quit, send them out in the field their first day. What you want to do the first day is validate all the hopes that they have that they picked the right job. You just want them to leave the first day of training thinking, holy freaking shiz, this company is so legit. These guys are so awesome. I cannot wait to get started with these guys. On the first day, what you want to go over is going to be stuff like the industry 101. What is your industry like? Who's who? Who are your competitors? Why are you better than your competitors? How does your product work? Do they have software that they need to get logins into? Do we need to teach them how to navigate through the software? Do you want to introduce them to some of the executives of the company and have them spend 30 minutes talking about the vision of the company and the upward mobility in the business and how you guys are looking for leaders, and there's a lot of management availability, and this is a great career opportunity for people that want to move up in the company, and what you're looking for are people that exhibit these personal traits, and you're really excited about this training class because there's a lot of talent in it. You go through all that stuff if you want them to think, oh my God, I made the best decision in the world, right? All you want them to do is leave thinking they made the best decision. But if again, you don't have any early stage retention programs, you don't have any scavenger hunts, new hire surveys, mentor programs, any of that kind of stuff, you will lose almost everybody. And then you end up with a situation like this. Does this look familiar? You have 100 really solid candidates that you go through every single month and you only hire 3. That's funny. That pipeline looks vaguely familiar, right? 97 people dropped off and you have 3 people that started at the end of the month from all of your recruiting efforts. Some of you guys are sitting there like, holy crap, dude, this is exactly what I do, right? So, but let's talk about a good pipeline experience. Let's say 100 candidates come in, same exact situation, but you call everybody within a couple hours and you get a hold of them quickly and you give a really good first impression. You schedule a good appointment. Yeah, you give a really good first impression. Boom, 90% of the candidates are going to make it to the interview stage. The 10 that aren't going to make it to the interview stage are going to be ones that didn't show for the interview. Anything higher than a 15% show rate for interviewing means you're making mistakes if you have less than a 15% show rate. Interviewing, let's say your interview skills are on point. You're making them fight for the job, using takeaways, you're using the right psychological positioning, right? You're doing a really good job at helping them build their respect and enthusiasm for the position. You'll move 80% of those team members across, or they're not team members yet, but those candidates across. And usually the 20% that you lose there, half of those will be because you didn't want them there. Maybe you learned something new that you didn't learn in the screening process, and you're the one that chose to not progress them along. But if your interview skills are on point, I'm telling you guys right now, you will move almost, and you can keep almost every single person that you interview. You guys got to think about it. When people are submitting resumes and coming in and looking for positions with different sales companies, they're applying right to about maybe 3 to 5 other companies. They're going to submit their resumes to. You're one of them, right? And guess what? All you have to do is be better than the other 4 or the other 3, which is not hard to do. Right? Nobody is going to get trained on the same stuff that you guys are getting trained on. After you guys learn how to interview in this training set, you guys will win that battle 100% of the time. All right, so make sure you guys are paying really close attention to that interview section. So let's say we get to the onboarding stage, and then let's say, like we talked about, instead of just sending them the paperwork and letting them onboard themselves at midnight in their bed with their wife, freaking themselves out, right? Guys, again, I want to give you a couple of the things that they freak out on the paperwork on. When they're going through the paperwork, think about the snags that they can run into. Just like the direct deposit, right? They get to that page, and they're like, "Oh crap! I don't have a voided check on me. Guess I can't fill this page out right now. Guess I got to go to the bank tomorrow." Well, now they're not going to fill it out that night. Now they have an errand they have to run, and maybe they don't run that errand, and maybe because there's no time limit on how long they have to do this, they just tell themselves they're going to do it the next day, and it just turns into this thing that they push off, right? Or let's say they get to the background check part, if there is one, and even if there's not one, sometimes, in your guys' paperwork, you'll have it ask, have you committed a felony or a misdemeanor, yes or no? Right? And some of you guys don't care if they have committed a misdemeanor or a felony, at least certain kinds, right? And a lot of times you ask that because you want to know ahead of time because you want to protect yourself legally in case anything comes up. But from what I've seen in my lifetime, if somebody has a misdemeanor, and they, had a speeding ticket or they got in a fight in college, we don't care, right? What do we really care about when we do background checks? If they murdered somebody or if they raped somebody or if they've done anything that would give us any reason to think that they might harm one of our customers inside of their homes. That's why we do background checks for the most part, right? You don't want to jeopardize the safety of a family by sending some, serial rapist or serial murderer or something like that into their homes, or maybe somebody that commits identity theft. That might be something that you care about, right? But if it's somebody got a aggravated DUI or something like that turned into a felony because they got a DUI when they're 23 years old, and the reason why it was a felony is because they didn't have the driver's license on them or something. I'm going to make them write a letter and explain to me that their life has changed and make them fight for the job a little bit. But of course, I'm going to pass that person along unless they ruin the letter that they write to me. So anyway, there's a million reasons why people aren't going to make it past that paperwork. But if you do it with them in person, it'll always be a good experience. And think about the comp plan. This is a huge one too. Sometimes I see people put a vanilla version of the comp plan, whatever the lowest comp plan is in the company, into the paperwork so that there's something there for them to look at. And let's say you're in an industry like solar where there's a lot of confusing acronyms like red lines and sun hours and kilowatts and stuff. People don't know what that stuff means. So when they look at the comp plan by themselves for the first time in the paperwork, right, they're going to be confused, right? They're not going to know what it means. And at most, they're going to be confused and okay with it, right? But what the other alternative is, they're going to be confused and annoyed, right? They're going to be like, what the hell is this? I don't know, 300, 400, 500, 600. Like, I thought Brandon said that they make thousands of dollars each sale. This says hundreds of dollars. And they don't realize that that's, what they make per kilowatt. And you got to multiply that by the system size and, whatever. So they feel like they just got bait and switch. And it just looks like Chinese. There's nothing that's going to make anybody excited about any of your guys' comp plans if they're not already experienced in the industry, because nobody knows how difficult it is to get sales in any industry that they haven't been a part of, right? If you haven't been in real estate sales before, you probably don't know what to expect in terms of the number of sales, or maybe you do because you have a friend in that industry. But for the most part, you don't know what to expect. So it's either going to be confusing and neutral or confusing and bad. It is never going to be good. However, if I go over the comp plan with them myself, it's always freaking awesome, right? Because that's the best part about it. When I get to show people what happens if they just do, a little bit every single day, and all of a sudden that somehow adds up to $200,000, $300,000. That's the best freaking part, right? So that's a much better scenario, right? Having an always positive outcome instead of one that can only be neutral or bad. So think about all those things: comp plan, legal stuff, direct deposit, background check, all that stuff. All those things are going to be reasons why people don't fill out the paperwork. But if you do it with them in person, like we talked about, and you use that meeting to bond with them and give them advice and make them excited about the job and tell them what to expect and go over the training agenda and have them meet their mentor, that is probably one of the most important meetings you could ever have with an inexperienced rep. You will have virtually almost 100% of the people filling out that paperwork. The only ones that aren't going to fill it out are the ones that come in and you find out they actually did murder somebody. That's what that 5% is. I don't like putting 100% in everything, but I've never had anyone stand up and walk out in an onboarding meeting. If they show up at the onboarding meeting, it's been 100%. And that I've signed anywhere between 3,400 and about 3,700 reps myself one-on-one. And I'm not talking like I've signed teams at me across the table from reps. I've signed about 3,700 on the high end and 34 on the low end. No one's walked out in an onboarding meeting on me. So if they show up to an onboarding meeting, they're going to fill it out 100% of the time, almost. So moving on to training. After they show up, let's say you have a good training program. You have early stage retention programs. Like, let's say one of my favorite inventions ever is the scavenger hunt. A lot of you guys know that I came from door to door selling alarms and solar, and I dabbled in pest. That when the scavenger hunt is an incredible way to get somebody used to knocking on the doors. Right. For those of you that don't know what a scavenger hunt is, people do them at slumber parties and stuff when you're kids, but you have a list of things that you go and collect from homeowners. Sometimes it's like a toothbrush or a bottle of water or whatever. But you have your new hires go out and, essentially play a game the first day so they get used to talking to people. And you have them just fearlessly walking up to homes with no anxiety because they're not entering into a situation where they have to recite or rehearse a script that isn't their words and get nasty rejection because they suck. When somebody's really bad, The rejection's harder. It hits them harder. It's delivered harder, right? But if you do a scavenger hunt and you have like a bottle of water, a selfie with a pet, but only cute ones in parentheses, and maybe a video cartridge or a VHS tape, and then maybe you set an appointment with somebody, you know, you do a free solar design or free roof inspection or free inspection of some sort or whatever, right? And maybe like anything else you want to put in there, some funny stuff. They can go up to they can go up to a home and say, "Hey, sorry to bug you. I'm doing a scavenger hunt. Don't know if you have any of this stuff." You just hand them the scavenger hunt. And then as they're looking at it, you have the rep say, "Yeah, I just started a new job, and this is going to be one of my assigned territories." And they're just having us get used to talking to people. So we're playing a little game today in the office. Well, virtually almost 100% of the time, now that the homeowner's not scared of you because you just said you started a new job and you're playing a game, and they're like, "Oh, sure, yeah, I've got a bottled water." What they're going to ask is, "Oh, cool, yeah, I've got a bottled water for you. Where'd you get a job at?" And they're going to be like, "Oh, if it's maybe it's a solar company. Oh, it's ABC Solar. Yeah, I'm going to be one of the guys that picks out homes that look like they're a good fit structurally, and then I do designs for them and stuff." Well, now you guys are going to have a conversation about the industry, regardless of how it unfolds. It's going to be non-threatening to them because you just defanged yourself, and they're usually going to follow up with, "Oh, cool, I've heard of you guys, or I've never heard of you guys, or you guys one of the big guys. You guys set up a lot of the neighbors. I've heard," or maybe they haven't heard of you. Maybe they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, there was a solar company that came by 6 months ago, but we weren't really interested." So, or they never called us back. "So do you guys do PPAs?" And the rep's just supposed to be like, "I don't know. It's my first day. So I don't know if you can help me out with number 5, but I have to schedule a design with somebody and practice on somebody. Is it okay? I can go find out and come back, but is it okay for my first appointment and I practice on you?" Guess what? That you just got the easiest appointment you've ever gotten in your whole life, and they're usually going to be like, "Sure, how long is it going to take?" Right? Because people like helping people out, right? They might not be interested in solar, but they're down to help you out if you're a likable enough person, right? And then guess what you can do after that? You write down that appointment. You whip out a new scavenger hunt that's not written on. You cross off 8 of the things on there, VHS tape, and or schedule an appointment with somebody, and you option close the next house. With so many words, I'm cutting a lot of stuff out. But on the next house, you're like, "So, do you have a VHS tape, or is it okay if I practice on you and you're my first appointment?" I'm skipping a lot of stuff there, but but boom, 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 boom. You'll have some of the people in that new hire class getting 5 to 10 appointments their first day if they do a good job with it. I've never had a class with less than 5 people where we didn't get a same day sale out of it. And it was specifically with some of the harder industries like solar, for example. You'll still get same days with a good scavenger hunt, right? And this is also a good place to teach them how to not sound like a salesperson. If they're going to wear, don't send them out in a polo, in a hat, in a lanyard, in an iPad, right? Because if homeowners see that they look exactly like a salesperson, they're still going to get some rejection, right? Or if they go up to homes and uh, uh, if they go up to homes and they introduce themselves by saying their name and the name of the company, and they're like, "Hey, how's it going? My name is Brandon Hall, and I work with ABC123. How's your day going today? Are you the king of the castle here? Did you get the thing in the mail about what we told you about the thing in the mail? Did you guys get that? Did your neighbors say about what we're up to in the area?" Get out of here! F you. They're going to get rejected so hard because they sound like a sales guy, right? And also teach them to not like. What I like to do is have them wear a shirt that says "rookie" on it. Maybe, and they're holding a bag because that's what people would probably do if they were doing a scavenger hunt. I don't let them wear a company hat, and so that they can see what it's like to rapidly go up to homes and not have a horrible experience, right? Because when you and me are selling, like when I'm knocking doors, I don't have butterflies in my stomach. I've been doing this for so long. When I'm talking to a homeowner, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat for dinner that night and what movie I want to watch the next day, right? I'm like on autopilot, right? And what we always try to do with new reps is get them to understand that day is going to come for them too, but we always know it's going to suck. So what do we tell them? We're always like, just please, you just trust me. It's going to suck a lot in the beginning. It did for me too. But if you just hang on for like 2 months, I promise you it's going to get easy, right? And you just pray to God that they hold their breath for 2 months so they know what it's like to be you. Well, guess what? If you have them do a scavenger hunt their first day, they know what it's like to be you. because no one's going to yell at them, at least not at the rate that they would have if they were reciting a pitch that they weren't good at. They're going to have an awesome experience. They're going to speed walk up to homes and they're going to be laughing and taking selfies with people and whatever, and getting appointments, right? And it's going to show them what it can feel like, and obviously it's not always going to feel like that, because eventually you're going to have to start selling the normal way, but at least they know what it's like to walk up to homes. They know it's not that all homeowners are jerks, right? They're just jerks when you suck. But homeowners actually aren't jerks if you don't suck. If you just go up and you talk to them like you're a family member at Thanksgiving, you're casually mentioning that you're doing a scavenger hunt, and you're talking about the industry and stuff. All of a sudden, they're having a positive experience, and they know that, they know what to chase, what feeling to chase. Sometimes I'll even do this social experiment where I the next day after a scavenger hunt, I will have them I will have them memorize a pitch that I give them on purpose, and they think that they're going to crush it the next day. I'll be like, cool, here guys, I need you to memorize this stuff. Here's the 50 BMG, and they think it's like the bippity boppity boo words, and they're memorizing this pair, and they're so stoked, and they'll literally set like 20 appointments the next day, because they're just like, oh my god, I got the bippity boppity boo words. This is the magic pitch. This is going to be so awesome, because it just had a really good first day. But I know what I'm doing. I know, because I have a weird sense of humor, that they're going to get their butts kicked. Right. So, but I let them think that, and they go out and they think they're going to set 20 appointments. They come back super disappointed, and they're like, they only get like 1 or 2 appointments, and they're like, what the hell happened? That was today was not like yesterday. Right. And I'll ask them the question of the century. And it's, what guys, can you guys tell what the difference was between today and yesterday? And sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. But the difference is they sounded like salespeople. They went out, I made them memorize the script, they sucked at it, and they got their butts kicked, and they got every single door slammed in their face because they sounded like robots. So I'll apologize and be like, sorry guys, I did that to you on purpose, and I'm the one responsible for giving them the worst day. They come back and I'm like, I did it on purpose. I'm so sorry guys. Please forget everything I taught you yesterday. I need you to unlearn that script I just taught you. What I need you to do is whip out a blank piece of paper now, and I need you guys to put that script into your own words. Unlearn that script, and then I'll literally set them up to the front of the room. I'll start helping them learn how to be smooth and confident in their responses and not overthinking things. So I'll just start asking them questions about their job while they're at the front of the room, and just make them answer the questions with the information they have in their head. And I'll say, all right, Kevin, what do you do for work? And Kevin's gonna be like, oh, I work for a company that was founded in 2015, and we've been in business for 18 years, and we anticipate by the year 2025 that 50% of people, and I'm like, quit it, shut up, stop. What? Hey, you're saying your pitch, stop, try again. What do you do for work? And then Kevin's like, oh, I work for a solar company, and I'm going to be one of the guys that picks out roofs that look like they're a good fit. And I'm going to do designs for people and try to save money. Great, congratulations. You sounded like a normal person. If you just talk like that on the doors, you'll have a much better response. Just try to get them talking to you like they're talking to a family member at Thanksgiving. And then one other thing that I like to do, and you guys can steal this hack from me, but I like to use this social experiment as kind of a way to show them and give them hope, and understand that a lot of times it's not the product, it's just their pitch that sucks. But I used to do the social experiment before every summer. I used to sell alarms every year, and we'd go out for summer programs. And on the first day of the summer, I would do the social experiment with all the new guys. And what I would do is I would go out by myself. I would take 10 $100 bills, and I'd break them to hundreds, and I would go through a neighborhood, and I would try to hand out $100 bills to homeowners. I try to hand out those 10 $100 bills. And usually I have somebody like with a cell phone in their pocket recording it, so they can show I can show them the results of the social experiment. But I would intentionally try to sound like them on their sales pitch. That was the catch, is I would try to hand out $100 bills, but I would sound like my crappy sales reps. So I'd walk up to homes and be like, hey, how's it going to you? Are you the king of the castle here? Great. My name is Brandon Hall. I work with ABC Company. How would you like to have $100 today? How would you like to earn $100? Guess what? F you, get out of here. Where's your badge? I'm calling the cops. Right? Because I sound like a sales guy. And I'll keep doing that home after home. Hi, how's it going? My name is Brandon Hall. Did you get the thing in the mail about they tell you what you're doing in the area? We're trying to help homeowners get their hands on $100. How would you like to take part in a game or in this event where we're giving away $100 to a lucky homeowner? F you, get out of here. Like, that is going to be the response you get, right? And you literally won't even be able to hand out $100 bills to people. But then on like the 6th or 7th house, I won't do that anymore, and I'll literally just tell them why I'm there. I'll cut out all the crap. I won't introduce myself. I won't say the name of my company, and I'll walk up and I'll say, "Hey, how's it going? This is for you." And I just try to hand them the $100 bills, one of the $100 bills, and they're gonna look at it and be weird and be like, "Uh, what do you do? What are you doing? Why are you doing? Wait, is this real? Why?" I'm like, "Yeah, just take it. We're doing a social experiment. I'm just handing out $100 bills to people." And like, "Are you? Is this real? Like, I can take it? Are you sure?" And they're gonna take it. And they're gonna look at it and hold it up to the sun and be like, "I'm like, yeah, it's legit." And then I'll just tell them exactly what I was doing, being super honest and super genuine. I'll say, "Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm going to have a sales team come through here in about a week, and I'm just doing a social experiment and prepping the area for them and stuff. And I wanted to show them. I hope you don't mind this guy behind me, but I wanted to show them that you can't even hand out $100 bills to people if you act and sound like all the other sales guys that come through here. I don't know if you guys have had people coming through lately, but anyway, you're the first person that took the $100 from me. Your other 6 neighbors didn't, but the catch was is I try to sound like a salesperson with them, and you're the first person where I didn't try to sound like a salesperson, and you're the only person that took my $100. So I appreciate it, but you actually helped me prove my point. So I thank you for that. That was a big help. And usually they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. I wish I had a sales manager like you. I was in sales a long time ago, but that's a really good point." So nobody took it. Nobody took it. And I'm sitting in, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I'll usually end up getting an appointment out of it too because I just gave them $100. Of course they're going to listen to me, and I'm being really honest with them, and they like me, and I'm literally just telling them exactly why I'm there. And then what I do is I take the results of this little experiment that I did, and I'll go into the sales meeting the next day and be like, "All right, guys." So I tell them about the social experiment. I'll tell them what I just told you, or they'll watch the videos and stuff. And the point that I'm trying to make to my sales team is that, guys, I just want you guys to know the point is, I don't know if you guys are catching on to this, but it's not that going door to door is hard. It's not that selling solar or whatever industry or roofing, alarms, or pests or dish or whatever is hard. It's just that you guys sound like idiots when you talk. When I try to hand out $100 bills talking like you guys, I can't even hand out $100 bills because the way I can't because I talk like you guys, I introduce myself like you guys, I sound like you guys. I can't even hand 100. I can't even hand out $100 bills, that light bulb goes off in everyone's head. They're like, "Holy freaking crap, dude, that's so true." Like, of course, if they're not going to take $100 bill after the way I introduce myself, they're not going to buy a product from you that's expensive, right? So anyway, I like to teach my reps how to feel comfortable as they can in the moment so they're not these nervous robots, because a lot of the people that you're hiring might not be experienced in sales, might not be experienced in your industry, right? Everybody has to start somewhere. So helping them understand though how to be calm like the pros will really, really crank up their retention rate and help them get to their first sale, right? If they're getting a bunch of appointments their first day, and sometimes guys will use a scavenger hunt on the second day or the third day. I don't care if they do it, multiple days in a row. Sometimes people have so much fun with it, like they'll keep using it through to the second week, and it'll be Friday on the next week, and I have to go into the sales meeting. I'm like, "Guys, you have to stop using the freaking scavenger hunt pitch. You're getting too smooth. People are going to be able to tell you're lying. It's obvious you're not new anymore. You're getting too smooth. Stop it. You got to do it the normal way." And everyone's laughing, but I'm being serious. But and that's what's keeping them there. It's keeping them through the whole time. But if you just push somebody out into the field, even if they're shadowing somebody, even if their first day they're going out and just shadowing somebody, which isn't as bad as them going out on their own, but it can still be freaking nerve wracking because they aren't experiencing something positive. It's not like the scavenger hunt. Even if they're watching somebody who's good, what if that person has completely different personality than they do? And maybe they're really aggressive and they're not, sometimes lady luck plays a little bit of a factor, right? When you're trying to, grind and you're knocking doors and stuff, or even if you're on the phone, and if they don't have a home run first, 4 hours, and it kind of sucks. That Imagine a rep thinking, "Holy freaking crap, dude! Like every day is like this. My whole life is going to be like this times 365. Holy crap! I don't know if I can handle this. Jesus Christ, dude, this is tough." So, using these early stage retention programs, scavenger hunts, new hire surveys, mentor programs, some of this stuff is fire. I can't wait for you guys to go through some of these other trainings and listen to some of these early stage retention programs. If you thought the scavenger hunt was good, that's nothing. Mentor programs, new hire surveys make such a big impact. Early stage retention programs, right? So much stuff there. So, but the difference, guys, between the last one, remember only 3 people made it through on the last example I gave you on the bad example. This is the good example. This is about best case scenario. This happens all the time, guys. I'm not exaggerating. I can't tell you how many freaking months. And some of you guys that work for some of the big companies, there's probably about 5 other recruiters out there that I can think of that actually operate at one of the highest levels, and they're consistent. They're signing 40 to 60 people a month with one assistant. Now they're full-time recruiters, obviously, that used to be sales leaders, which is an important aspect. You never want to hire a recruiter that hasn't done sales before, at least if they're doing the interview portion and working with the manager. In sales recruiting, you don't want to have anyone doing the main interviews as a full-time recruiter if they haven't been in the industry before. I want to make that point very clear. But the 48 hires a month is very, very normal for one person to do with an admin helping them out with the ad strategy and stuff. We'll talk about that later. But guys, look at the difference between that outcome. That's 48 on the good side, and then 3 on the bad side. Guys, when you're making $30,000 a year, $25,000, $60,000 a year per recruit that sticks around for a whole year, do the math, right? And if you just got your interviewing 10% better, if you got your onboarding 10% better, you've made a Bitcoin level return on your investment. I don't know what you guys paid for this thing. A couple bucks. Think about how much you make on a recruit. If you get one more recruit because of what I just taught you, and a lot of you guys, I guarantee a lot of you guys watching this are twice as good as you were at recruiting now than you were before you started watching this video. 100% better, right? By implementing some of this stuff. It's like getting good at recruiting, guys, is like liquid gold. But this is massive, guys. This is why this stuff is so important. Now, of course, not all those guys are going to stick around for the whole year, right? There's going to be drop off. Usually about 50% of the people make it to their first sale, and 50% make it to their 5th or their 10th, depending on the industry and the difficulty of the sale, right? So you might end up with, out of 48, you might have, 24, 12. You might have like 12 people that really stick around long term. You'll have 24 that make it past the first month or the first couple of weeks, and then the other 12 will make it past the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th month and stick around long term, right? But guys, this is where it can actually become fun recruiting non-experienced reps online. The reason why a lot of you guys don't do it, right? And why a lot of people don't do it, and it's not, there's a reason why the whole world isn't just running recruiting departments, is because it sucks when you aren't doing it the right way. Right? It's not fun. Sometimes it's a total waste of time. And honestly, if you aren't good at these things, I don't even recommend having any sort of recruiting efforts being done, because you're just going to lose everybody and you're going to freaking hate your life. Right? But if you can master this stuff, you can actually get very similar results out of non-experienced recruits as you would experienced recruits. Sorry, out of non-personal recruits as you would personal recruits. Everyone watching this knows usually personal recruits usually perform a little bit better, stick around a little bit longer because they have a friend at the company that has their general best interest in mind, or sometimes they're the kind of person that was pulled from a job that they were doing good at instead of the kind of person who's submitting a resume someplace. But you can actually get similar results out of web applicants as you could personal recruits if you actually manage this pipeline really well. All right, and this is such a small portion of it, guys. I can't wait to go over some of these other trainings with you, but guys, I hope you guys took close notes with this stuff. This is absolutely quintessential if you guys are going to have any sort of effort in recruiting non-experienced reps. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys do. No company just recruits experienced reps, right? It's not how the world works, right? And experienced reps, honestly, aren't even that great sometimes unless you went to them. That's a totally different story. There's 2 kinds of experienced recruits, you going to them and them coming to you. And the ones that come to you, they're not that good, are they? Yeah. Just because they're experienced doesn't mean that they're going to be great. In fact, I'm more nervous about an experienced rep who doesn't have options. It's weird when somebody who supposedly, because they're going to tell you that they're the top guy at their last office and blah blah blah, but they're submitting a resume to you. They don't have a bunch of friends that are going to recruit them, or they're going to go start their own company, or work for their friend's company, or call a competitor, or getting recruited by somebody else. An experienced guy who's one of the top guys who's last office is going to, submitting his resume to you, right? Or he's got some sort of weird story about how unethical his managers were, and they didn't want to work there because of, they didn't align with morally with the decisions their manager was making or whatever, and they give you some BS. Be careful if they're inbound experienced reps. And outbound experienced reps are very unpredictable. Don't want to get into experienced reps. We're going to talk about that later, but non-experienced reps, guys, if you do a really good job with them, you will make a massive ROI on your time investment. This is going to be the best and easiest way for you to make money as a sales leader. All right. So I'm going to put a bookmark here. We're going to end this and keep an eye out for some of the future stuff.